Hello everyone, this is Jamarl Thomas. I am your host. This is Progressive Soapbox. This is my wife, Mrs. Thomas. She's not feeling well today, so this is not going to be the patron appreciation episode. This is going to be an episode on an issue that both of us cares about, that she definitely cared about and wanted to have a conversation on.
Definitely.
Oh, you did?
Okay.
You were pretty strong in trying to have this conversation.
I'm fighting a cold, so I'm going to try to, we're going to do this one really quickly.
Yeah. So basically, what it boils down to is abortion laws, or anti-abortion laws, we should call them. Various states within this blessed union that has a Frankenstein monster in regards to the military, but that's a second story. But these great states, some of these states are somewhat backwards, somewhat cavemanish in the way that they go about their policies, particularly in regards to women and their ability to control their bodies. You have several knuckle draggers in various states that have been able to put through laws, anti-abortion laws. And Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, Ohio. As you know, Roe versus Wade has outlawed anti-abortion in this country, meaning women are allowed to have an abortion. Right. But you have people who try to push that up into the level to which they can push it to the degree that, for the most part, fundamentally, for all realistic outcomes, bans abortion.
Republicans have been trying for years to kind of overturn Roe versus Wade.
Yes.
But over the last year, especially, and since Trump has been in office, they've gotten more brazen. And so they've been able to actually push these bills through, whereas previously maybe they wouldn't have. But like you said, 4 states so far. In Iowa and North Dakota, they tried to pass these laws and they were deemed unconstitutional.
Yeah. So
it's not getting through everywhere. It's just some, you can say, backward states. That's kind of messed up, but...
Well, it's true. I'm not calling it backwards because of any human defect, from the standpoint of they were born and they're somehow lesser than me in regards to them being a human being. I'm saying backwards in regards to them trying to pass bills that are telling women what they should do in their bodies, or in this kind of religious belief of we have to protect the zygote over this human being.
With regards to their policies.
And the wild part about it, the moment that child is born, fuck him.
Now,
fuck him.
There's also Alabama, which my dad lives in Alabama. I've spent time actually
I have no idea why your dad is still in
Alabama. But they are trying to pass a law to make abortion illegal outright. So Georgia's most recent change, or the biggest change to abortion's new law, is that it went from 20 weeks to 6 weeks.
Now, understand what that means.
6 weeks is before I would even know I was pregnant.
Right. Yeah, you wouldn't even know.
Right.
So the moment that you find out that you're pregnant, for the most part, abortion is off the table in regards to an option. And again, I kind of want to nail down, this is based on their religious beliefs.
Well, that's why, and it's called the heartbeat bill.
Yeah.
They call it the heartbeat law because it's 6 weeks is when a doctor can detect a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So that's really fucking soon.
A zygote. I mean, granted, it has a heartbeat, but you're talking about a real person's life, and a Republican Party that would not care one iota about that life when that kid is born. Mm-hmm. Like, whatever you want to say, the lefty gets this kind of tab on art. We need to take care of our society. We need to take care of our community, etc. But we have a moral obligation to do so, and that would even go beyond moral obligation. It costs you less to take care of people as opposed to the chaos those people create when those people have needs have not gone back and they've gone.
My biggest thing too, because I'm pro-choice.
Yeah.
My biggest thing too is I have seen people who have children. Not everybody needs children.
Yes.
Not everybody that gets pregnant should have children.
Yeah.
I think it speaks a little bit to say, how responsible, how prepared are you?
Not everybody's responsible enough to raise a kid.
Right.
And you're talking about a sharp object.
Well, not only that, but now you want to force these people who've gotten pregnant
to raise
that don't want children to have children that they don't want and that they're not prepared for.
Yeah.
Which is why in any other case they would have an abortion.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's just...
I know this sounds grisly, but I can even make an argument that abortion in and of itself saves your society from calamity later on. Now,
I think
I
it
know that
does.
sounds
I mean-
brutal, but imagine the situation where people are raising kids that they should not be raising. And I'm saying that to say that it's not so much that I believe that kids aren't necessarily precious. It's more so that I believe they're sharp objects, and you can't give a sharp object to everybody. And sometimes the best people are not necessarily the best at raising children. Do you realize the psychopaths, psychopathy, whatever they call it, this kind of depraved indifference to other people, sympathy and that type of thing? You have many people who are born with that. The difference is the activation of it is some degree determined on who raises the person. Meaning, if that person is raised in an environment that exacerbates the worst ends of the individual, that person is more likely to be depraved themselves with a depraved indifference to the other person's life. So it's not so much that it's just an individual's born with it. It's also an individual's born with it with an environmental kicker to make it off. I'm using that to say that not everybody should have kids. Not everybody should have kids. Now look, I am not on this kick to think people should have abortions willy-nilly. So just to be clear. And I've known people who would be extraordinarily careless and get pregnant, and it's like abortion. So when Republicans kind of make this thing, it's not that I don't think those people exist. It's just I think those people are outliers. And not just I think those people are outliers.
Are they making an argument that women get abortions willy-nilly?
Republicans do to some degree. Yeah, Republicans they're they should keep their legs closed. They should. One person made this argument that the woman should have like a aspirin argument, that she should have an aspirin between her knees to keep her legs closed. That nonsense. Look, I've met people who were, what's the word I'm looking for? Careless, but those are the outliers. Like, you know what I mean? That's not the typical
I don't think
case.
it's typical that women go and have multiple
I don't either.
And someone in the chat said that abortion is a form of birth control. I do know, I've seen in the store myself that
It is.
I would argue. Let me finish what I'm saying. That there's been new legislation recently, ever since Obama was in office, to give better access to birth control pills. I take birth control. My birth control is now free.
Yeah.
So there's that. I know that there are some women who just don't believe in birth control. That's fine. Pull out method. Do you, boo?
I don't understand that.
I don't know how it works. That, whatever. But they have like the Plan B or like a morning after pill that used to be prescription only, but that has most recently been made available over the counter. So if something happens, you go out and you get wild, and you're like, oh my gosh, I had unprotected sex last night. You could go within, I think it's like 48 hours or 72 hours and get the Plan B or the morning after pill.
And that happens.
That helps reduce the amount of, you said what?
That happens. I mean, there are times mistakes happen. This
do.
is kind of a mistakes happen. This is not like, look, let's,
excuse me.
I remember I had this argument with Lee one time. We were talking about voting, and he was like, well, people could do, and it's like, I don't live in a world about coulds. I live what people do. And I do know human beings being human beings, mistakes happen. And so do I want a society, like teaching kids about sex early on? That should be something people do. And when you look at the research, and the research shows countries that do that,
I was just going to say, compared to other countries, European countries, we have like the least educated children.
Yeah.
Because
and more
it's
teen
a
pregnancies.
stigma. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh my goodness, like don't talk about sex. Abstinence. That's the way to go.
However,
and it's like, that's not realistic.
However,
you have to educate.
When you look at television, you see teenagers
Sex
fucking like rabbits.
I watch TV. How many TV shows have we seen recently?
Vampire Diaries,
CBS, CW.
Yeah.
We're watching stuff, and these girls are supposed to be like in high school.
They're like 15 and 16.
And they're like going out partying, and they're sexing like it's being normalized. But they're not educated enough. And maybe they are. I haven't been into high school for a while, but maybe they are. But I don't think that we're getting...
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, it was like abstinence. Boom, that's the way to go.
Yeah, these Republican legislatures that are like, I'm not teaching my kid about that at all. Because, understand, you have various families, from a public standpoint, that your society has to deal with. And some of those people are prudish. Some of those people are Christians. Some of those people... And the high school education, or middle school, has to deal with all of that. Because that kid is going to go home and say, well, Mom, they're saying that, so there's that. So there's this fight from the standpoint of, look, what should our kids know and what should our kids learn? There's an insidious aspect of this where we're going to teach you a specific brand of history. All countries do it. Mm-hmm. So your Turkish history has, this brand everywhere. You can't necessarily bring up the genocide and that type of stuff. But All countries to some degree do it. I think we do ourselves a disservice, however, from pretending that human beings are not human beings. And in part of that is, I don't want people using their religious beliefs to make legislature and to make laws. I don't want people being forced to raise kids that they don't want. And I guarantee you, your society suffers either when that kid is not taken care of or when that parent has to raise a kid that the kid don't want.
And then the parent has to struggle. It's just...
Yeah, think of what that means for a parent that has to raise a kid. Think of a low-wage parent that barely makes ends meet and is now forced to carry a kid because the state intervenes into the affairs of the parent. Republicans are like, oh, we don't like state intervention. No, you do like state intervention. You're literally getting between a woman and her doctor.
Speaking of, so there was one other thing that we talked about. So we talked about the 4 states that have already passed these heartbeat laws. Yeah. But Alabama, that's what I was saying earlier, has gone so far as to try to outlaw abortion outright. And they're even trying to impose 99 years of imprisonment to doctors who perform abortions. Wow. Now, some of the most recent laws, they're a little bit different from state to state, but some of them do have penalties that say, like for the mother, like if I was to go and get an abortion, I could face jail time. If I go out of the state because my state has outlawed abortion, I could be put in prison.
For some of the states make provisions for incest and rape. Some.
Alabama being outright means we don't care. Yeah, we don't care if you're raped, you're having that baby. Now, they do put some kind of stipulation in there in regards to if it's to protect the mother's health. Like if I am going to die by delivering this child, then you're entitled to an abortion. But if I am raped and get pregnant, now Alyssa go through those 9 months of carrying that child.
That's the wild part. Like that, it's. You know, it's one thing if Republicans were lefties on this and they said, look, we're trying to protect the mother's life, full stop, and we're trying to protect the kid's life. We believe in life, sanctified. We believe that life is more important than anything else. If they said that, fair enough. But the most logical thing after that is also when that kid is born, we're going to take care of it because we're not going to force the mother to take care of a kid that she may economically cannot afford or not mature enough to take care of.
No, you should be standing on pull yourself up by your own bootstraps
after we force you to have the kid.
That shit yourself. That
Isn't that an amazing position?
Is your responsibility.
I've had religious people who would make that argument to be like, well, I mean, and then they would turn to science. That's amazing. I love that. They turn to science. They say, well, science says that kid's alive. But climate change, Yeah. Whether something is alive or not is debatable. Let's put it that way. Now, you can make an argument that heartbeat is beating, but consciousness. Is the kid conscious? Is it feeling pain?
If there's a heartbeat, you can pull this to pieces.
You're right. You can pull it to pieces. Aspects. What I do know is there's a mom that lives and breathes and has family, has relatives, has friends, has all of these connections and everything else that make her alive in an overt sense. In the only real way that people know to be alive.
It's almost like you're saying that and maybe
that petri dish item is more important than mother life.
That's what I was going to say. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to say that out loud, but that's kind of what it sounds like. It's the mother. It's true. I'm not saying that's not true. I'm just.
I would have beast out notes. Yeah, go ahead.
That the mother, fuck what she wants. Yeah. Forget the next 18 years of her life and things that she had planned. She shouldn't have had sex. Yeah. So now she got to have this kid.
Well, some of them, the Christians, are like, she shouldn't have had sex.
Right. And I think some of that is the bigger issue. It's like you're being punished now because you had sex. We told you not to have sex in the first place.
And now you're having sex.
But now since you messed up and you had sex, because some people even think, aren't there places that outlawed birth control? Or I know they tried to outlaw birth
because
control.
They tried to say that the birth control was killing the thing.
So you don't. Killing a life. So I can't protect myself from getting pregnant.
These are religious.
And now that I have gotten pregnant, I can't end the pregnancy.
Oh.
So the only answer to that is there.
And guess who is also pro-life? No. Anti-abortion, which is
that's
what
the same. Pro-choice and
pro-life.
No, pro-life and anti-abortion.
Right, and pro-choice, pro-life, pro-choice.
Who?
One, Mr. Joe Biden. Now, Joe Biden would say, "Well, I wouldn't do anything about it," but at this point, we have a spate of these laws and everything else. Like, it's like somebody asks the question: do you really want to put a pro-life person in office during times like this?
Right.
And as a Democrat, no less. Is that where you really want to go? That's your Democratic Party. That's your supposed front runner.
See, this is so funny that you just said that, because somebody said choose anti-life, vote Democrat.
Choose anti-life.
What? Choose choice, vote Democrat.
But
clearly, like you just said, not all Democrats. What is going on with our image here? We've got weird stuff happening. So today,
it tweaked back. We've been having technical difficulties all day.
Yeah, patron appreciation was supposed to be on, and the camera is just going off. He spent like almost 2 hours trying to fix the camera, so we apologize for
color is back.
Stuff. The color is back, but however, now the background is funky. Also, I wanted to say, while we were talking about, how they tried to ban birth control.
Yeah.
Ohio did. I think they passed the ban on your insurance covering abortion as well. So it's like we're not even giving you the opportunity. I mean, well, you can do it, but we're not going to let your insurance pay for it. So it's a little pricey.
When this happened, my thought was, you guys should have put Abrams in office. Now, and I know that sounds messed
in Georgia?
up. In Georgia, because Kemp was being cheated. I mean, not Kemp, Abrams was being cheated in that race. The governor had undermined the vote and slow walked tallies in regards to getting people into the voting thing. Meaning, all of these people were trying to put in their voter registration. He was slow walking the registration, not to mention accusing Abrams of doing some kind of shenanigans, which he was trying to register people to vote. It was dodgy business in Georgia. It was like clear dodgy business in Georgia. And I kept thinking, you guys should have voted for, you guys should have helped Abrams in this case. Now, the question becomes, and that's somewhat of an unfair position because, that's somewhat of an unfair position, but that was me being somewhat of an asshole. But this reminds me, Alyssa Milano, sex strike. So Alyssa Milano has called for a sex strike.
Can we go to her tweet?
What is this?
Can I read it?
Yeah, go for it.
So Alyssa Milano, you guys know her. Hopefully, maybe. We were talking about like CW and stuff like that. I don't know if it's on
Charmed. It used to be Charmed.
Is on CW, but it's somewhere like that. And she used to be on Charmed. That's where I know her from.
That's where I know her
from. Do we have
an
image of her?
Yeah.
So she tweeted on May 10th, so just a couple days ago, in response to all of this anti-abortion shenanigans. What happened? Did we lose our video altogether?
No, we lost our display.
Bear with us.
I swear, man.
Today has been a really shit day in regards to technology. And it's raining outside. Does that have anything to do with it? The fact that it's been raining and storming off and on?
I don't think so. All right.
We just got blackness.
Oh, but hold on.
Is this our strike against anti-abortion?
No, I don't.
Epic darkness?
I don't think so. Let's see. Let's bring us back.
Is our audio still on?
Yeah, the audio is still on.
All right. There I go. There we go.
Let's see if I can bring her.
All right. So while he's doing that, I'm just going to read the tweet. So this was on May 10th. And she said, "Our reproductive rights are being erased." This is a tweet from Alyssa Milano. "Until women have legal control over our own bodies, we just cannot risk pregnancy. Join me by not having sex until we get bodily autonomy back. I'm calling for a hashtag sex strike. Pass it on." So Alyssa Milano has started hashtag sex strike in response to all of these anti-abortion laws being passed. Now, my first response to this is, they're not getting laid by their wives anyway. So this is not going to help anybody. These men who are out there passing these laws are...
I still disagree with this, but go ahead.
You disagree? That was my first response. And maybe that was just me being a dickhead.
I think I'm more of a feminist than you on this. Now, the reason why I say I think I'm more of a feminist than you on this, because if
you're more of a feminist than me.
If we're in a relationship, if a woman is in a relationship, and the guy who she's in a relationship with supports this, maybe it's not one of these Christian conservatives, but maybe he's a Republican and he's like, yeah, I don't think no woman should be able to have those babies anyway. And what is she to do? Is she really going to have sex with this person? Now, she may, but she also would not necessarily be in the wrong for being like, maybe I don't know you that well. Maybe there's something going on in this particular relationship. This is bothering me. We have this conversation. This forces a conversation between those two people. Now, in another situation, if I was married to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders goes out and says what she says day after day after day on Donald Trump, am I wrong for saying, I can't be with this woman? Meaning, I am taking my sex away from her anyway just by ending that particular relationship. I guess what I'm saying, you can't say that the
Were you guys having a lot, were you and Sarah Huckabee Sanders
we married?
having a lot of sex?
Assuming the answer is yes.
That don't mean nothing.
I'm just saying, at that point, I mean, we're talking about a spectrum of people and all sorts of realities, like all sorts of situations that may do this. Also, keep in mind, the effect of this is not necessarily directly related to the people who's it taking place on. It's also to the wider community. Why do you think they're squeezing those people in Venezuela with sanctions? Maduro isn't losing any weight. He's squeezing the population in order to try to force the population to do something different. Those women who tell their husbands, look, you're not getting any until this thing changes. Now, those husbands may not be Christian conservatives. However, those husbands may be out of the political process. 50% of the population don't vote. Those husbands may be...
Those got Kemp.
Yeah.
He ain't getting laid.
But that's kind of my point. It's not necessarily about whether Kemp or not getting laid. You have a larger public that votes. It's the entirety of the public that votes.
Across the board.
Yes.
I'm going to withhold sex from my husband.
Yes.
Until... Now, wait. Do I withhold sex from you, too?
I'm not in Georgia.
Well, she's not in Georgia.
She is in Georgia. I mean, she's in Alabama. No, she's in Alabama.
I guess what I'm saying is this...
She's been filming this show in Alabama.
Is this everywhere?
I don't know.
Like, I mean, women... I don't think it's hashtag
the
Sex
laws,
Strike Alabama.
But it only applies... Well, Sex Strike Alabama may be a little long. But this only applies, I would imagine, to the states where this is taking place. Otherwise, it makes no sense. Like, why would having a sex strike in Virginia deal with a law that's in Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio?
Well, I think she's saying that altogether we have to get people out of office across the board who are supporting these kind of prehistoric policies.
I agree with that. But I'm saying, but that's in those states. I mean, we've had really gross people in Virginia too, so don't misunderstand me. But the pressure of this seems to need to be on the people who are okay with these laws. Like having a sex strike with a guy who's already in your corner sounds a little weird. It's like, I'm going to withhold sex from my husband that is already more into this than I am. That gets a little dicey. It seems like it only really matters when your husband is not on board for it. Meaning, I'm withholding sex from the guy who's, for whatever reason, on board for the law. And by the way, I've met people
who are
conservatives.
So does this imply that Melissa, is she married?
I don't know.
I got to do some more background on Melissa Milano. I don't know where she is and if she's married or not.
She's been doing a show that's in, it's either Georgia or Alabama, but it's one of those states.
So is she married? And if she's married, does her husband support abortion?
There's no way that woman will be married to a
man
who
is she withholding sex from then? Well, and if she's so pro-choice, the people that she's engaging, sharing her vagina with,
what do you mean?
Are they going to be that she's having sex with? Are they going to be pro-choice or pro-life as well?
That's a plural. How many people is she having sex with?
That's what I'm saying. Is if she's not
You're
married,
a lot, buddy. This is those old Republican arguments that pro-choicers. I'm sorry. Pro-choicers are just kind of floozies who like to throw their vaginas around. Like this is like, how many people is she hooking up with? I don't know how many people she's.
I guess what I'm saying is who is she? Who is she?
You're trying to say, is she withholding sex from the person who she's with?
Right.
But does she need to? That's what I'm saying. This seems like a weapon.
Altogether.
I don't think it is. My point is this. I don't think this matters, personally. Meaning, I don't think this matters one way or the other. Because
I know, but
if we're talking about like in ancient Greece, where the women don't have any say-so in the political space, then yeah, it just makes all the sense of the world because you're withholding the thing that you have that they want.
She's saying we're not having sex until we get back autonomy over our own bodies, control over our own bodies.
Her point is, why have sex to get potentially... Oh, no, I'm wrong. She's talking about everybody.
Right. Because she's saying I'm calling for a sex strike until women have legal control over our own bodies. And then this is the part that almost sounds like it's leaning towards a Republican argument. We just can't risk pregnancy.
Why does that sound
like it kind of sounds like...
Her point is, if we get pregnant and we can't have an abortion, I see what you mean.
She's saying we can't risk pregnancy.
Like we can't...
So because you don't have the right... Like that sounds kind of fucked up.
I don't think it sounds fucked up. I mean,
So if that's the case, then we're not having sex. Because Alyssa Milano said, until I have control over my body.
But it doesn't really make sense outside of
I'm
Georgia.
on strike.
Like, look, I understand it from this way. If you're trying to have a pressure campaign, and you're trying to find this kind of asymmetric way to get at your overarching objective, which is we want these laws changed, and you're trying to find anything at your disposal to do so, I get it. Even the very fact that we're talking about a sex strike brings attention to the fact that Georgia is doing this. Does it make sense? And again, there are more people that vote in those states than Christian conservatives, meaning the pressure campaign is designed to hit more so than just those stuffy people who don't have sex.
It's
anyway.
Everybody, because then if you don't have sex, then you're gonna go out there like, listen, somebody needs to do something. Yeah. I'm not getting any.
But again, I don't think this entirely works because women have agency within the government. Like,
okay, so let me
still get votes.
Let me read some more of the article, just really quick to finish this up. She goes on to say, when asked about her tweet, she says, "Mark my words, one of these bills will end up going to the Supreme Court to overturn Roe." And she's talking about Roe versus Wade.
That I agree with her on.
And if Roe is overturned, this will directly impact the women most at risk, the women from low-income communities of color. This was in a statement that she made to Washington Post. She says, "We must take a stand against men legislating our bodies, and we mustn't take for granted the women who fought for our right to sexual liberation and bodily autonomy." I was thinking of this song.
It was like she throws her arms up. Yeah, I love that.
So she says, now, this article from the Washington Post, in the title, it says her tweet didn't go over well, but I'm not really saying
I love the positions that sometimes people have to take, because it's sometimes some arguments are easily castigated and others. Like, people used to think Hillary Clinton, why does she sound robotic like that? It's because she's been attacked so much that she tries to take positions that allow her to be attacked the least. You know, it's like, you're always going to get hit, but how can I get hit the least? How can I make this hurt the worst? But screaming sexual liberation sounds fucking awesome. It's just to use that in the same way.
All right, so some of the opposition to this, one person said, "This makes it seem like sex is something women do as a favor to men.
No, it doesn't.
It also furthers the misogynist theory that women should be shamed for liking sex at all."
Why? Why does that make that feel like women should be ashamed?
I don't get that part.
I don't get that
I do kind of get the part that says it makes it seem like women are doing men a favor.
Why?
Because if I'm withholding something from you, it's like, well, I'm not going to give you like your cupcakes for dessert.
Or, well, see, this is my problem with this type of, this person said this for, it's yes and no depending upon whether a person believes it or not, if that makes sense. Like, there's no right or wrong. It just is what it is. The results are the thing that matters, and whether or not it draws results. Any government, regardless of what the government is, tries to find ways to compel behavior. And it looks for any pressure point that it can use to compel behavior. If one of the items that you have at your disposal is vaginal constrictions, that type of stuff, if that's what you have at your disposal, it's not good, bad, or anything else. It's, I have something that you want that I'm not going to give to you because you're doing something that I don't like. It is literally what the United States does when it passes sanctions on the various countries. We don't like something that you're doing, so we're going to withhold something that you need. If that makes sense.
Right.
It's not good, bad, right, wrong, anything in between.
So, we missed a super chat from Jay Scott. So, thank you, Jay. We have to go back.
This is trolling. Come on.
Jay, I'm hesitant to read it because it is a little bit trolling. Jay Scott says, voter shamer Jamal should have voted Abrams.
Oh, yes. Am I voter shaming on that? Is that voter shaming? That's not voter shaming. But Kemp is disgusting. Yeah, I am voter shaming. Kemp is disgusting. I'm sorry.
Somebody said lock it up. Can I say?
And by the way,
raise your hand if you got a chastity belt.
Whatever they want to, but fact of the matter is, this is, So raise your hand if you got it. I don't think that's chastity.
If you have a chastity belt.
That's essentially what they would like. Republicans, that would be something they'd invest in if they had the opportunity.
Chastity belts?
Yep.
Can I buy stock in chastity belt?
No, because they're not going to last.
Production?
I don't think the women are going to go on the sex strike. But if they did, that would draw a shitload of attention. And the fact that it's in the Washington Post right now in and of itself is kind of funny. But, I mean, her point is to try to draw attention to what's taking place. So, if that's her goal, mission accomplished.
Yeah, speaking of AC,
Abrams.
Speaking of Abrams, Stacey Abrams, in response to all of this going on, he said that Georgians will fight back in the courtroom and at the ballot at the ballot box and win.
I think that's subconscious.
He didn't say anything about in the bedroom via sex strikes.
Who's he? You mean she? Abrams?
Stacey Abrams, yeah. I
think
my
that's,
medicine is kicking in, and I'm getting a little slurry.
I think it's subconscious.
Because
we've been talking about vagina, and so now you're going to add bollocks. It's like Pepsi. No, it's like peanut butter and chocolate or something.
Yeah. Right. So.
Well, that's the story.
That's the story.
I don't think this is a feminist position or otherwise. But most things are not one or the other. It's just the way people perceive those things. This is so fucking subjective that it's nothing. Argument about it is kind of like, look, I care about results. If I'm being honest, I don't. If their goal is we need to change these abortion laws, if this is an arrow in an entire cornucopia, fair enough. I think the arrow is more so the attention that it gets, not necessarily the fact that people do it. I could be wrong. She could actually be trying to get women to have a sex strike. I
wonder what her maybe she wasn't having sex anyway.
I don't believe that.
Did she have this conversation with the person, with her sex partner before she did it? Because like he or she, like I guess it has to be.
I think it's a he.
It's got to be a he. Because if I was a lesbian, I couldn't withhold. One person commented and did say that it does assume that all women are straight,
and it does not. It
doesn't. So if I was a lesbian, should I be withholding sex from my wife or female partner?
Look, the reason why I say it doesn't pretend. Even if I had nothing to do with it, if you were in a relationship with another woman, and that woman says we're not having sex until this law is passed. Why doesn't that put as much fire under that woman's belly to get something accomplished any more than it would if that person was a man? My point is, that doesn't...
They should just close all the McDonald's until this is done. I bet that would move some people. I don't know. I'm just thinking about something that a lot of Americans do and use and take part of.
Right. I guess my point is the sex in and of itself is somewhat used as a weapon in this. And I don't agree with this notion that it only affects a specific segment of the population. It's like, again, it's the sanctions hypothesis. If I put enough pressure on the rest of the population, Maduro is still eating perfectly well. Maduro's still living in an amazing house. Maduro still has an amazing car. Maduro's life has been made miserable. But to some degree, that's because of the chaos that's in his population. That chaos is being spurred on by the government with this thought of if we can create enough chaos in the population itself, we can get rid of Maduro. Why isn't the same theory intact for something like this? Even if the person doesn't have a penis, even if the person is a lib, even if the person is a Christian conservative, I don't see how, it puts a fire in people's belly to get something accomplished. Keep in mind, a large part of the population don't vote. If that part of the population starts voting because they don't have sex, would that change? They're not getting sex. Would that change the thing? I guess I'm saying, if you got 5% of the population that didn't vote to vote, your election system changes. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily buy this thing that it's... I think it's going to be ineffective because I don't think it's necessary. Women, if I'm not mistaken, there are more women than men in this country. And there's nothing stopping women in the sense of getting elected, clearly.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how I feel about the hashtag sex strike. I think the anti-abortion laws are rough.
But do you feel like it's regressive? Like I don't see the arguments against it other than it's ineffective. Yeah.
No, everybody's gonna come up with some type of argument.
They think what they like or they don't like.
Yeah.
I am taking the ultra feminist position of being pro sex strike to people who are against the abortion laws. That's where I'm at. Or that's in those states. Because we're in Virginia.
So no sex strike.
Not in Virginia.
In VA.
But in Georgia and Alabama, you guys got to get your shit together. Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, and Ohio, there needs to be a sex strike immediately.
Yep.
That's how I feel about it. I'm not in that state, so fuck them. Get your house in order, Georgia. Get your house in order. I'm with Alyssa Milano on this front. I don't see the negative other than the chaos that it creates in relationships within those countries, within those states. And maybe those husbands, those boyfriends, starts, getting this shit in order.
And get into the booth.
Yeah.
The ballot box.
The ballot box, yeah.
Said it right that time.
Or you could say that. You say, you want this box? You better go to the ballot box. That's...
No, you're thinking
yes!
about... You're thinking about dick in a box, not vagina in a box.
Well, people call it box or muff.
I think men should go on strike.
What? Not having sex with their wives?
Yeah.
Or why? How would that help?
How's this helping?
Well, I didn't say it helped. I didn't say it did it. I told you my thing that this helps is only from the standpoint of optics. Like, she has a story in the Washington Post talking about an egregious law. So it's publicity.
Bringing attention to...
Yeah. It's not so much that I think the sex strike puts, pressure on the political edifice in that sense, in that strictest of sense. But you never know. I mean, people are odd things, man. Like, it only takes a small percentage of people that don't vote to change how the things goes. I mean, you have 50% of the population that don't vote in presidential elections. And that's our high point in elections, like to put it in perspective. So what does it mean if 10% of that population votes? That's a landslide. That's a fundamental change in our system. Like, I don't want to completely underwrite it. But those laws are egregious. And whatever weapon, axe, break that can be used against it, I am all for. I am not going to short of one iota. But yeah, they should have voted for Stacey Abrams. Just saying. And those people who were screaming at the height of their lungs that this election is being stolen, those women, let's say, that weren't of color, maybe should have cared a little bit more about that. Just saying. Yes, I said it. That's where I'm at. I'm even going to back up on that.
All right. I think that's pretty much the story, isn't it? We'll see if Alabama passes their bill, and what other states are to follow.
Yeah. Fortunately, the worst that we got in Virginia was that religious maniac.
Ultrasound.
Yeah, the ultrasound bill, where they forced women to look at the ultrasound of the baby before they kill the baby.
Can I speak to my own personal experience with birth control?
You mean the after pill? Yeah. Go for it. You mean not that it wasn't pleasant?
Yeah. I mean, all of this is... Republicans want you to be shamed for sex. So, you know what I mean? But...
We have a backwards Christian culture.
I know, but I guess my thing is, as someone who has, been in need of a morning after pill, I'm going to keep it real.
Well, I don't think that's atypical.
And then also...
If that makes sense.
I don't know. It's like, there's this cloud over it. Like, embarrassment for birth control pills. Embarrassment for, the morning after pill. I remember I was out somewhere, I feel like it was at the DMV, and I was pulling some stuff out of my pocketbook, and my birth control pills fell out. And whoever I was with was like, oh my gosh, the birth control pills. I was like, it's a fucking birth control pill. You know what I mean? Like, It wasn't a pad. I feel like a pad would hurt. But, you know what I mean? Just the presence of a birth control pill. But I've had to go in the store and buy a morning after pill with my fucking husband. And it's like, do you guys have a plan B? What? Like on the TV, they would have been like, price check on plan B, morning after birth control pill. To be fair to the
pharmacists, you have a lot of prudish human beings. And those prudish human... I don't think you understand how... It's not just you. Your society is Christian-based. It's prudish. Like when we were in Germany. And the guy is... oh, fuck, you weren't there. But, I told you about this. Where the guy is just out there with his little penis, his little cock just out there like this. And he's just kind of standing there. And not a care in the world. And I'm sitting there like, oh, my God. I want to be that guy when I grew up. Because he didn't... It wasn't, they didn't put that shit in his head when he was a kid growing up. So he didn't have that, that ashamed quality associated with his body. The society was different. You know what I mean? Our society isn't that way. Our society was prudish in regards to sex, it still remains somewhat prudish in sex, even though it's this odd dichotomy of we're gonna have teenagers fucking like rabbits on CW by the same token, and we're sketchy about this stuff. So you have this weird kind of back and forth on the sex front in this country. Poverty is that way. Sex is that way. The things that people have this odd, ashamed or I think it's because the society has a particular point of view about it. Even though the birth control seems the most natural thing in the world, especially if you don't want to have kids. But I think that goes towards sex, less the birth control. I think it's what the birth control means.
Right.
It means that the mom's
Clearly
fucking...
you're having sex.
Yeah.
Like, as a teenager, it's like really hard to have a conversation with your parents like, I want to be on birth control. But, well, what for?
Right. Otherwise, why? And by the way, it's a split in our society too. If you think about it, porn is a completely different quality of video and entertainment than media. And so you would never see Captain Kirk digging into somebody, even though they would allude to the fact that Captain Kirk was just into some green chick. Like, think of any television show that you want to think of. As lewd and as far as they may go, they don't go that far. There's a distinction in human sexuality that is left to something else. It's a weird mix, though. It's like people have sex. And those people who have sex certainly know what that is. It's like, I get an example. It's like women showing their breasts in public. Like, that's always a weird thing to me. It's like, why not? What's the difference between their chest and my chest? It's like, well, they're bigger. They're bigger. Yeah, but why is that a difference? Like, why is that distinction? It's like one is a body, the other is a body, and
it's been sexualized.
And there's more of them than me. Like, there's more women on this planet than people of my species. I guess I'm saying, if it's okay for men to show the top part of their body, why is it not for the women? And for that matter, even going below that, why is the nudity thing is always strange to me in the first place. It's as if people don't know that there's breasts or tits under their shirt.
You have to check Streamlabs.
It's just odd. That's all.
So I see people coming in saying that they're late and they're just getting here. They didn't get notifications. Make sure that if you're subscribed that you click the little bell notification. Mine did actually pop up for today's show. So make sure that your notifications are activated for the channel. And then we also said at the beginning, we're not doing a full-fledged patron appreciation. I am doped up right now on cold meds.
Her Theraflu's kicking in. She's slurring words.
And I don't want to be doing nasty cold related stuff. So we're gonna this was one that I really wanted to talk about. I like these kind of women rights topics, so I think that's cool to have the conversation.
And I'm like,
Worf, yay, he fell on the floor earlier.
Yeah, she man overboard. All right, so Wes, and not just politics, but the shape. Okay, let me right here. Wes, can't afford much today, but wanted to say thanks a lot for the Shapiro vid. I can't believe I let a friend convince me to watch that guy. By the way, it was you that got me to understand our politics, not just politics, but the shape of the world is in. Mind you, I was acting as a hermit for a decade. I had no idea what was really happening. Same here. I was the same way. It's weird. I voted for Ralph Nader back in like early when he first ran, even though I wasn't fully paying attention to politics.
Our color has gone again. This was from yesterday's video?
Yeah, this was from yesterday, but I didn't read the second one.
So read
All right,
today.
Kills for 11. How dare you use morning after pills? You shouldn't have got pregnant and got an abortion. You should have got pregnant.
Oh,
you should have gotten pregnant and got an abortion like a real liberal feminist would. Shame on you, right? You should have just got prego and had the abortion. Look, I think one of the things that James Baldwin said that I think is absolutely and infinitely true. He said when he started reading other people's work, like Hemingway and those type of people, or Dostoevsky, he started realizing, I'm pronouncing his name horribly wrong. I can see it in my head and I'm pronouncing it wrong, Dostoevsky. But his point is, you started realizing that the human condition, that he stopped being ashamed of stuff. Because he started realizing, these are things that are just part of being a person. This is not something to be ashamed of. I'm not the only person that do this. I'm not the only person that goes through
but
this.
If I was younger, now I would say, okay, whatever. I'm with my husband. Okay, we make a decision to take birth control pills because we're not ready to get pregnant yet.
It's not we.
Or, what do you mean we?
I don't take them.
We make a decision for me to take birth control pills because we don't want to get pregnant right now. something happens, I don't have them for a week, and we fool around, or I'm like, oh, I missed yesterday, and I feel like it's more responsible. Thank you very much, Kills for a Living, to go to the store the day after that happens and say, let me go ahead and get a morning after pill, just to be on the safe side. I guess I'm kind of bringing it around to the fact that it doesn't bother me as much anymore. I can't say that it's completely gone. Like, if I had to go today, when I was just brazenly be like, give me that morning after pill, give it to me. I don't think so, because it's still...
It's because it sounds weird. Like, it's the height of, all right, I fucked up. I need a morning. Well, it's 2 counts.
Fooling around.
I was messing around.
And then
I fucked up too.
Fucked up. You fucked up.
The morning after pill is literally the height of fucking up. Ultimately, unless you plan for it, like you just said, all right.
Well,
I'm not gonna have it, so I'm just gonna have to get the pill later.
This is interesting. This is very interesting because I read somewhere a year or two ago, not today, that people use the morning after pill as birth control because they can't afford birth control pills.
That's interesting.
Because I can't afford the monthly payment of whatever the X amount of dollars is.
That's a horrible thing.
But if something happens...
That's a horrible... I mean, are you, like, that? Your sex life has to be...
minimal?
Yeah, because otherwise you're paying
or
a lot.
Well, that was my thing, is that fucking morning after pill is like 50,
yeah,
60
it's expensive. Aren't you paying more for the...
Right. And at this point, like I said earlier, like, birth control is free for a lot of people. Joel Sass says...
and by the way, it being free is liberation. Like, that's one of those things that Obama did right.
Sexual liberation.
Wait.
Let me read this super chat. Joel Sass says, hey, Jamarl, just wanted to let you and your wifey know that I appreciate you both. I can't wait for you to get more popular. You are our valued voice.
Oh, thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, Joel.
Tell your mama. Tell your friends.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's, I don't know.
Oh, no, Dom.
I tried to,
That's unfortunate.
What?
He said hashtag coat hanger.
Oh, well, they used to do that.
I know that.
They used to do that. Yeah, they used to do that.
And that is, okay, so there are some people, many women, who will be determined to end a pregnancy.
Regardless, yeah.
Whether law is in effect.
But they know that. Their thing is, when you're passing these laws, you always have to look at it as, pretend for the moment they're not people. In fact, it may even help you less if you pretend they're not people in some degree. And you pretend that there's a statistical bunch. So from your standpoint, because you don't see the fact that there's people, somebody hands you a sheet and says, look, here are the number of abortions. That number has gone down to 5, and these 5 use the coat hanger. This percentage doesn't exist anymore, and this percentage, meaning you're looking at this almost as a probability of people who are going to not get an abortion, or versus people who are going to care so much, and you don't care about that 5. In fact, you care less about that 5. You just want the number to go down to 5. Like, these are not people who are based on, these people who, they have religious beliefs. You know what I mean? Like, this is not based on results in the the outside world doesn't really matter in this case. It's purely ideologically driven, which makes it worse.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I really just feel like whatever choice I choose to make with my body it's my choice. As long as I'm not hurting
somebody else.
And maybe that's not a good argument to make, because it's like, well, you're hurting that 6-week-old baby that we heard a heartbeat of.
That cell. That cluster of cells.
That sperm that got through.
Yeah.
You're killing that sperm. So,
Is it conscious? Right. I mean, it's not so much the heartbeat per se. That's just the machine. Is it conscious? And honestly, the subject of life to me is not it's an argument. It's not a definitive.
Do you know that baby?
Yeah. How do you know that?
Well, not only that, but how do you
mean?
know at what age they get consciousness?
Yeah. Where's the consciousness at that point? I would agree with them at a certain point that no, you can't kill the child. I would even agree that I don't want people using.
What do you mean? So you're saying that there should be a certain time frame?
I don't think it's 7 months. You should be killing the kid.
Do you think that there should be laws against 7-month-old abortions?
Depends on the situation. Yeah, I'm not an absolutist. Like, because think of what we're saying.
Like,
at that point, you're talking about a real kid. You know what I mean? This is not
right.
like
That baby
a
is in
cluster of
there.
cells.
He's got fingers, toes,
Yeah,
hair,
the
all that
baby's
kind of stuff.
moving.
Yeah.
The kid is, at that point you're actually killing a kid to me.
Now, I
But
guess
at
my thing
6
is
weeks. That's not even an argument.
You're
to me.
saying that, in your opinion, you shouldn't. But would you go so far as to say that women should be criminalized or punished for 7 month long for having abortions when they're 7 months
But
old?
I don't know any women doing this. Like, this is kind of like this.
You don't. That doesn't mean they're not out there.
I've yet to hear stories of women trying to get babies at 7 months. I'm just saying that because think of what we're saying. We're talking about a kid is usually delivered in 9 months, but an early delivery could be between 7 to 8 months. So we're essentially saying we're going to abort a kid that's can literally be delivered at that point. I mean, how much of an absolutist are you about this abortion thing?
No, I don't think you should.
A week before?
But should you be criminalized for it?
Criminalized is a different thing to me.
Because some of these laws, some of these states, you can go to jail if you have an abortion.
But answer me that part first.
What, am I an absolutist?
Yeah, are you absolutist on
I
abortion?
feel like you should have
just
a
so we're clear,
choice.
if the mother's life is at danger, absolutist. For me, full stop. But say the mother's life is not in danger in the situation. At 7 months, 7.5 months, mom says, look, I don't want this kid anymore. Do you, Dr. Hollingsworth, Thomas, abort that child?
I'm not aborting it.
But somebody else can do it.
But if she goes somewhere and finds a doctor that's willing to give her an abortion at 7 months old,
is that okay?
I feel like that's her prerogative.
Even that's what's it. So wait, I'm interested in this one. But you'd agree with me that child could also be delivered at that point. Like, it's at the exact same time that the child could be delivered, you're okay with the kid getting aborted.
I'm not okay with it. But that's my opinion. And my opinion doesn't give me right to say what she should or should not do with her body.
If the kid was born, can they off the kid at that point if the mom don't want it?
Off the kid? Jesus Christ.
Well, I'm trying to get to... I'm asking... Because these are... I think this is an interesting conversation. If we're talking about a point where the kid can be delivered, and the mother still saying, I want to off that kid, even though at that point the kid can literally be delivered.
I understand.
So
I don't need you to say it again. So I understand what you're saying.
Okay, so this is not a zygote at 8 weeks or cluster of cells with a heartbeat.
Why do you feel the need to reword it?
Because at a certain point it becomes not the mom.
You're saying that at a certain point, yes, someone should step in and force her to have a child.
Yes.
I think that it should be her choice.
Because at that point, it's the actual kid. Like, my argument here, usually for the abortion thing, goes down to, and I gotta be honest, I don't think this is an issue. Like, I think this is somewhat of a conceptual thing.
Yeah, I don't think there are women out there having. Somebody said they've heard of late-term abortions.
Yeah, but those are rare. But like, those are not.
And I don't think. I think that there is a limit to even doctors who are
pro-abortion,
who perform abortions.
Pro-choice sounds better than pro-abortion, right? Yeah, I know. It's just the framing of it. Good.
Even doctors who perform abortions have limits.
But I'm asking
to
you
how
about your
far
limits.
along. And I've told you 4 times. We have a super chat. Joel Sass. Thank you, Joel. He says, the Bible supports abortion. Read Numbers 5:11-31. Please read it. Unfortunately, we do not have a Bible here.
So there is no point where the state should step in and say...
You are really...
Because I don't think you've answered this. There's no point. Like, I'm asking, are you an absolutist on this front?
So if
even at 7.5 months, that kid is literally...
If it is a day before my child's due date, and I say, I want to
off this kid.
Stop saying off the kid.
Well, you are talking about killing the kid at that point. Because it is a kid.
And terminating the pregnancy.
Well, that's language change. To try to, it's not torture. It's, advanced interrogation. No, at that point, it is a child that can be born and that can live without an incubator.
I don't think they should have the abortion. Do I think the state should step in? Or that law should step in? I don't think so.
So who should stop it?
No.
Like, this is the problem with the abortion laws. Like, that's why it always sounds sketchy, because it's like, what are you going to do to the mom? And at that point, Republicans are like, they get mealy mouth. But what we're talking about is 7 months, 7.5 months. The mom says, I don't want to have that kid. Now, my thing is, yes, at that point, the state should step in and make a choice on this. Because at this point, there's a child there that can legitimately be argued about a kid being there. I have to be honest. Now, and my thing is the state should step in. Now, the catch becomes, okay, if you believe the state should step in, what do you think it should do to the mom or to the doctor that's doing that? And even there, I get, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't want to.
I think that
I don't want to touch that.
I think that that's why there are restrictions. I don't know who puts them in place. Is it law, or is it like the doctor's stipulation that says we do not do abortions after, for example, 6 months?
Yeah, they probably wouldn't touch it. Most of them don't. That's what I mean. This is so rare.
Right. And I know that I believe that late term abortions like that, like 6 months, 7 months, are usually to protect the mother. They're usually done if the mother's in danger.
Yes.
The only time that I've seen that,
yeah,
like on TV, I've never seen it in real life.
So I don't. So this, and I agree. This is purely conceptual.
I think that
I'm just fascinated by your answer. That's all.
Because I'm just like, choice.
Well, it's an absolute. Is like, yeah, the choice thing. At a certain point, it's like, well, the kid no longer has a choice, and you would say, well, it's not really a kid. But at that point, it is a kid. It can be born at 8 weeks.
But that's your argument. Your argument is, well, it's not really a kid. I never said that. My argument is, it's my fucking body.
Problem is, there's a kid in that body that also, at this point, has agency to some degree. You want to tell me how I know he has agency? Because he hits his head upon the mother's stomach, and he responds to music, and it's no longer the mom. When the mom decides to have a citizen, which is what that kid is going to end up being, a citizen of the United States, that kid has a certain agency and a potential that can be used in the service of the state, and even in their own service, meaning their own powers and agencies of what they can do during the course of their life. At a certain point, the mom has acknowledged that there's something else that's separate and distinct from that mom that is growing in that mom. And at a certain point, I agree with you. It's like, well, no, that's bullshit. The mom has agency in this. Fuck that. I would even give you up to like 6 months. I would even give you to 7 months to some degree. But at a certain point, the mom has acknowledged, okay, there's something else there. In the same way that kid is standing in front of you, or they could be sitting in front of you on the birth thing. I think at the point where that kid can live on its own, it's a kid. It's a citizen. It has citizenship of the United States of sorts. It just hasn't necessarily set foot on the ground yet. I guess that's my only issue with the notion of an absolutist position on this, when the kid can literally live. Like when the doctor is going to give an abortion, but the doctor could literally be just doing an earlier delivery. I'm like, oh, that gets a little dicey. Now, when you take that second thing of, okay, fine, do you put the doctor in jail? I don't know. And if you don't put the doctor in jail, there's no penalty to them having you make a law. And this is why I said there's no such thing as international law, because nobody backs it up. And the same thing here. But in this case, I have a hard time believing that the doctors would do it. I think the doctors would be terrified of going to jail. I don't think you'd even have to put them in jail. You just have to threaten the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so rare. I think it's
like I don't feel like it's bad if I go to a doctor's office and they say, yeah, we don't do abortions after 6 months.
Yeah.
But why?
For whatever reason. What do you mean? Well, again, at a certain point, it's a kid. I know you're saying mothers. Oh, right, they do it now for themselves, but it's because at a certain point, even the people who were pro-abortion had to acknowledge, okay, it's a kid. Like it's a hard argument to make that thing that's, moving to music and is headbutting you, and that the mom often says, oh God, I feel, my heartbeat and that type of stuff. That is no longer just a zygote. That it's something. Life is,
I feel you.
Yeah, I'm not an absolutist on this. What, my non-absolutist position surprised you on this? You thought I was just going to be like, fuck it, the mother from the day of the pregnancy, if the mom says I'm done.
Trudy, thank you. Trudy says, carry for 6 months and change her mind? Not likely.
Yeah.
Must be a medical need. No, we know that this is not
This
typical.
is a conceptual argument, Trudy.
This is a
purely conceptual
definite
argument.
outlier.
Yeah.
And like I said, yeah, she should. But do I agree that she should be forced or she should be criminalized? If not, I don't think she should.
At 7 months. That's hardcore, man. That's hardcore. Wow. Okay.
And maybe I can say that because I know that it doesn't happen at all.
I mean, because that's a hard position, man. That's a hard position. I mean, granted, the question is, who's the doctor that's going to do that shit?
And I think
it's a capitalist system. So
somebody said that they have responsibility to the infant at that point because you're delivering. Because at that point,
it's a kid.
And then too, I was gonna. This just popped into my head. After a certain age, or a certain oh my goodness, I lost my train of thought. Yeah. After a certain... my therapist was kicking my ass. After a certain age... Fuck. I forgot what I was going to say.
It happens to me sometimes too.
After a certain age... What was I going to say?
What was the last thing you were thinking about before you saw it? What were you looking at before you saw it?
It's comments all over the place. It'll come back to me.
Pull the comment down. It'll come back to you.
It'll come back to me.
The comment will trigger the thought.
That's what I was gonna say. After a certain age, and the baby is X amount of months along, don't they have to actually deliver that baby?
I think so.
And then terminate it?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
You know what I mean? Possible. Maybe that's why they're like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Because they would have to actually create a life and then take it.
Yeah, that's some grisly shit,
I don't know how all of that works.
Shit.
How aborting a child works physically. I know it has some. This is getting really morbid, but it has something to do with like suction. But I guess my thing is, after a certain point,
you're giving the baby anyway.
They have to deliver. If a woman goes in and says, "All right, I'm 7 months pregnant," and she has a medical reason, and they say, "If you deliver this baby,
then maybe a C-section."
That's what I was thinking too. Like as I'm thinking it out, I was like, "Yeah, they're not going to make her
C-section.
Push it out anyway," because if it's a medical.
But however they do it, it's kind of irrelevant. I mean, at the end of the day, they're still... Clearly the baby's alive at that point. And clearly you have to take the life at that point. Like, this is not a zygote.
And maybe that's why physicians don't do it. Because they've taken an oath not to take life.
Well, they don't do it because they pass a law that they don't do it. That's not a physician's thing. That's a... Look, whatever you want to think. The right-wingers in this case, who are, they're going far too far. But if just a basic right-wing position was, look, I understand that there's sometimes that you need to terminate the pregnancy, but anything beyond these months, they don't do that. They do absurd stuff. But I think there's a logic to it. I don't think it's because of the physicians, though. I mean, think of our system. We have a capitalist system. It's like saying, employees or employers don't allow kids 10 years old to work because they want the best for the kid and they don't want... Nonsense. They passed a law that prevented kids from working. There's a law that prevents doctors from doing it. If doctors were given an opportunity to deliver kids at 7 months, there will be some grisly, horrible doctors that will be out there delivering kids at 7 months. I'm sorry. If you paid them enough, they would do it.
Trudy says, carries for 6 months, changes her mind. Nope. I feel you, Trudy. I get it.
No, I don't think that happens.
I don't think it happens.
Yeah, we're talking about a conceptual point. This is more so
saying what if. He's challenging my absolutist standpoint on this.
I'm just curious about this kind of, do you pass a law and all this other stuff? Yeah, this is just thought stuff. What?
I was going to get completely off topic. I'm good.
All right. Well, we're going to end this one. We definitely wanted to... I think both of us were interested in the topic, but you definitely were fired up about this. So, even though she didn't feel well, she still came out and we
anti-abortion makes me feel some kind of way.
Especially the one here in Virginia. It's so
where
dickish.
They force you to have an ultrasound.
Yeah, the ultrasound law. It's like, and not just stomach ultrasound, a transvaginal ultrasound. The government literally is taking a rod and forcing a woman to put this rod into her vagina and look at the kid that she's about to abort. Like, that's some grisly shit. Oh, also, they make you pay for it. They make you pay for it. An unnecessary medical procedure.
Well, I do kind of feel like if you're that far along, like we were saying hypothetically, and you're 6 months or 7 months, and you go in and say you should have to pay for that out of pocket too.
No, but that's like, somebody 1 month along. 2 months along. Like, they're forcing them to have this thing. And keep in mind, there's laws to prevent women from going beyond a certain point. And oftentimes women don't go beyond that point. Like, that's what I mean. This is so rare. This is so rare. But Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, Ohio.
They've passed those laws. The heartbeat law.
Yeah, withhold sex.
And Alyssa Milano
Withhold sex.
wants us to stop.
The women in those states.
Okay, not me, clearly. But those women in those 4 states should join forces with Alyssa Milano for a sex strike in order to create sexual liberation.
Keep it tight, baby. Well, it is. Well, she's using this as somewhat of an act of war.
Vagina freedom.
Yeah, the vagina wars.
The vagina wars.
Vagina wars. That's not what this is. The women who are deciding to withhold sex versus the women who are scabs and going across the line and giving sex to their husbands or to their wives. Vagina wars.
So not in Virginia.
Not in Virginia.
Where I live.
There would be no reason to do that in Virginia. What would be the reason? What would be what in any material way, how does that help the woman in Georgia get rid of that law?
Because they're going to go for the national elections.
But that's state. That's a state law. Yeah.
But who's in office on a national level affects state level.
Because
one of the things that they've said is that some of these laws are getting passed more and they're being more brazen because Trump's in office.
That is true.
So who's in the White House does affect it.
But those laws...
So I should withhold sex too.
But you realize even if Obama was in office, those laws would still have been passed.
Maybe.
There's nothing the president can do outside of passing some other kind of law, which he can't do on his own, to override those state laws. And not just that, Roe versus Wade should have overturned those state laws, but those state laws are being done in these recent elections because Republicans essentially slaughtered Democrats back in, when Clinton lost. I guess my point is, to some degree, you can make an argument that because of how bad Democrats were, Republicans were able to kind of have somewhat of a landslide election where they could get all these people in office. Keep in mind, Democrats lost 1,300 seats. They weren't just sitting there idly. They started getting shit accomplished in these laws and some of the things. I don't see how they would help. Until they pass a law on a national level saying, bills that try to outlaw abortion for these, et cetera, or that type of thing. That's one of those wins that you would have to win on the large stage where you're passing a federal law that outlaws this type of behavior. Because I guarantee you...
I'm going to message Alyssa Milano and ask her, does she mean me too?
The Supreme Court is going to get wind of this. And all of those conservative judges on the Supreme Court are now going to be able to hear this. And it is possible that they can strike down Roe versus Wade. That's the danger. That was the most dangerous aspect of Trump getting elected, if I'm being honest.
So it does matter who's in the White House.
It always matters.
So I should withhold sex.
No.
Hashtag sex strike.
No. I don't see how that helps.
Solidarity for the other women who are striking.
I don't see how that helps, man. If you were in those states, yes.
But I'm going in solid to show solidarity with the other women who aren't allowed to have sex now.
Do you know if Alyssa Milano herself is withholding sex?
She tweeted it, so it's true.
She tweeted it, so it's true.
She made a hashtag, so she's serious.
People create.
She even made a graphic to go along with the hashtag.
So no way. She made a graphic? I think that's the graphic that we're using. Well, I mean, I would say good luck with that.
When was the last time Alyssa Milano was in the news before this?
She was on cable saying that people should vote for whatever Democrat that's in office because she was terrified of Trump. That was the last time I saw her.
So 3 years ago?
No, that was like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. She's been getting more politically active.
She not... Never mind. All right.
I don't know, man. I don't think she's stopping whatever she's doing. But I could be wrong. All right, guys. I'm going to end this. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. We're going to try to do the real Patron Appreciation Show probably on Tuesday. I'm going to be on Fault Lines on Tuesday. And on Monday, I have Guy McPherson that's going to be on the channel. So that should be a really good interview. But
also, once my medication is no longer needed, am going to do a series of videos by myself covering the Bernie campaign and grassroots movement within the campaign. It's going to be a series.
Only in Richmond, though.
Yeah, not all over.
Let's be very clear that.
But I can report on it. I'm not going all over the place. But we went to a campaign meeting, and I've been doing like the local campaign grassroots stuff. And I think it's interesting to show what happens.
You going canvassing?
Am I going canvassing? Probably. Maybe.
If you go, I'd help you.
Maybe.
If you go, I'd help you once.
Little known fact, I did do door-to-door sales when I was in college. Selling, I was going for a marketing degree. So I did a lot of random stuff like that. But we were selling like home improvements. And it was like... literally just dropped you in a random neighborhood and you just went door to door and was like, hey, would you like to buy? I don't even remember what it was at the time. Was I qualified to sell or represent any of the shit that I was selling? No. And it didn't last long. I did not work that job for long.
I did that 1 day, 2 days, selling perfume.
I did that job too.
So these guys, they used to open up this office in Richmond.
Right next to the 7-Eleven.
I don't remember exactly where it was. Maybe.
I did that too for 1 day. I made it one day.
I did for 1 day. I did for 2 days. Because the first day, because they had sales quotas, and the sales quotas you had to sell a certain amount on that 1 day. So I sold all the family members. And then on the second day, they were like, all right, we're going to drop you guys off in the neighborhood. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not knocking on these people's door. Fuck that.
Okay, so ours was in a...
Wait. Well, 2 things. First, I started to be like, how do I know that this product is what they said it is? That's the first point. I was a skeptical SOB even before I started doing the channel. And then second point is like, I can't sell this to people if I don't know what this shit is. Like, if I don't know that this is what they say it is, how could I go with a straight face and sell it? Even if I like the smell of it, how could I really attest? Like, it was like, this is Chanel number 5. Okay? But companies...
It's comparable to Chanel number 5.
Yeah, right. But they would say it is Chanel number 5. The only difference is it can't label it as Chanel number 5. It's like Pepsi products.
I guess my thing, if it smells exactly the same, whatever. Most people I like the smell, not necessarily that it has the exact same ingredients. Now, some people will say I want it to be actual Chanel.
Call it what that is then. That's something different.
It's comparable to Chanel number 5.
Yeah, that's not the argument they were making.
I did that, and I did it for 1 day because they took us to Southside Plaza and dropped us off in a shopping center. And if you are not from Richmond, Virginia, it is not a nice... There's not somewhere you go and like randomly walk up to people and ask them, do they want to buy your perfume? I didn't talk to anyone, and when I got home, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not doing
That's
this.
not something.
I couldn't bring myself to knock on anybody's door.
I knocked on the door. I did that, and that wasn't bad.
I couldn't bring myself to walk up somebody in the mall either. And not to mention, the guy who I was with was a sketchy character in general, so I was like, yeah, this ain't working.
So since we're completely off topic, I did another job too where we did... I was actually really good at this one, and I lasted for a while. See, I did a lot of marketing, random shit, where we went into businesses and tried to sell them credit card machines. Like that chicken place that you like that only takes cash.
Yeah.
I would go into them and tell them all the benefits and try to get them set up to get a credit card be able to accept credit cards.
But see, that's actually a good thing that they
That one wasn't bad.
Yeah, that was something that they might actually use.
Yeah, and I was a telemarketer too, and I was good. I used to sell like vacation packages, timeshares.
Yeah.
I was good at that. I sold I call like friends and stuff like that and their parents and I could get them to get it too. But yeah, that's so will I campaign? All this brings us around to would I go door to door to campaign for Bernie? If nothing else than to give the experience to your viewers, I think I probably will do it.
That would be interesting to show how it is to walk up to a door to be like, hey, have you heard about Bernie Sanders?
I want to do the series and talk about all of it because we went to the policy meeting and they said, well, this is how the grassroots movement works. Right. And then there's going to be another meeting that tells you how to have these conversations with people. They talked a little bit and they even have this app that tells you how to talk about, this is the conversation you have with friends and family. Then there's another one, this is the conversation you have with strangers. And they give you tips on how to engage people to try to get them to feel the burn. Team Bernie, # Organize with Bernie. I'm curious. So I'm going to do the deep dive. I'm going to go, I'm not undercover.
Are you going to take track of this? See, if you really cared about the Bernie Sanders campaign, what you'd do is you'd go undercover into the Biden campaign and you'd report back information to one of the operatives, me, on what is taking place behind the scenes.
Makes me think of the guy that went undercover for the KKK, like the black guy that went undercover.
Whatever you need to compare it to. I'm talking about something very specific. Because I don't trust. And if Bernie Sanders, and this is probably what my mom always said, I don't want my son to ever be in politics or law. I don't necessarily trust that an organization that cheated Sanders in 2016 has had a come to Jesus moment. I don't believe it in the least. I don't believe the Peter Dows of the world that all of a sudden is supposedly a lefty, is like, and fighting for Sanders all of a sudden. I don't believe that stuff at one iota. What I do believe is that they hate his guts and they want to crush him, but they can't put their hands on him in the sense of crushing him. So CNN will put out garbage polls. You'd have operatives of the DNC that may say things. Joe Biden saying he's the most progressive politician. Then Donna Brazile being on Fox News bitching at Sanders. Like, he can't trust that this organization is going to be fair to him, and he needs to take them to some degree as being an enemy in this, even though whatever he needs to say in an overt way, he needs to be very clear that they're against him. Now, part of that is like, does your video show people egging Joe Biden's supporters or going after Joe Biden's campaign
my
teams?
Video?
Like, because what happens if there's like, because in my head, there's a Joe Biden camp somewhere nearby, there's a Beto camp nearby, there's a Sanders camp nearby, and what are the means that the Sanders camp has of terrorizing the Beto and the other camp to push them out of, But you can't get caught doing that. You can show it after the campaign of like, these are the tactics that were being used behind the scenes in order to subjugate or subvert the other campaigns. I'm being facetious here in case this is ever used against me later on. It's like, this guy was advocating for it.
They're not going to quote that when they use your quote. They're not going to put that part in it.
That part is going to be left out. I'm joking, but not in an odd way. I'm saying a little bit of both. Like, there's going to have to be, when Clinton campaign was dealing with the Sanders campaign, initially the Clinton campaign were all jokes and jolly and everything was great because at that point they thought this guy never has a chance. When it started looking dangerous, all bets were off. And these guys were at absolute war with each other, putting out information, trying to get the other team. Yeah. I do think it is in best interest of Sanders to have somebody in each of these camps, because I think the same thing will be true for his camp. Let's be clear. They're trying to be president of the United States. Fucking around. All
right. If you enjoy the content,
it sounds brutal, but I think it's true. Like, honestly, and somebody might say, "Oh God, horrible. That's a horrible." Some of these people set policies that are going to go and kill other people. If Joe Biden gets in office, Joe Biden will set policy that may create coups in some countries. They may whack people in other countries. They may start wars in other countries. These are not necessarily nice human beings. The notion that they're not going to put a mole in your camp, it's. In comparison to his nonsense. I think if Sanders is in good conscience, need to have due diligence. And I think due diligence is whatever you got to do to win. Within the confines of the law.
Whatever I see, I'll share.
I don't know what that means. Oh, you mean for the campaign thing?
Yeah. I'm going to go in and try to have the experience.
You shared at some
point. Experience. Yeah. So, but that's it for today's topic. We've gone completely off the rails.
I do think it would be cool to show footage of, like, literally walking up to the door, knocking on the door. The problem with that is somebody is going to be like, "Are you filming me?" Like, you may end up with some shady characters that are like, "I don't want to be on camera." But you can always go to the next door. At some point, some probabilistic amount of us will going to be like, "Okay, what is this about?"
Yeah.
And they may think it's what? Oh, well, I don't know. That's a little dicey. If somebody walked up to our door with a cell phone camera out, would you open it?
If somebody walks to my door, I'm not opening it anyway. Unless I am expecting someone and know who that person is.
So this gets dicey already.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, even in thinking about it, this gets dicey.
Unless it's, who's the guy that carries the big check?
Ed McMahon.
Yeah, and that's not a...
It is Ed McMahon.
Is it?
It used to be Ed McMahon.
Unless somebody shows up at the door, like, holding one of those big cardboard checks. And I better see that shit before I open the door, because if not, I will have missed it.
You don't want publishing
clear,
yeah. Ed McMahon.
Yeah, I don't open the door. Like, I'll go and I'll be like, I don't know who that is, and I'll go sit back down. And a lot of times, if the doorbell rings and we're not expecting anybody to even get up.
That lifestyle. All right, I'll end this. All right, guys, y'all have a good one. I will probably see you later today with more news. I want to put a few more shows in. I am going to be at Fault Lines on Tuesday, so I'm going to try to make up some of those shows for today.
Yeah, so, and then Tuesday we're going to also try to do a full patron appreciation.
It's good. Try. I'm going to try. Depends on how you feel. There's no push.
Okay.
All right, guys. If you enjoyed it, have a good one, and I will see you a bit later.
Cheers.
Thanks, all. And we're off. Well, we're almost off.